Oh man, we're recording this
Gentlemen,
thing.
what? Yeah, we record everything around here. Jay White, we record everything, my friend. Hello, Corey and Savannah, Valerie, Orlando. Good to see you. Orlando, I love that guy. Elizabeth Nelson, hi. We're going to give folks a second to kind of enter the room here. Jay White, Fred said, how you gentlemen doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm good. We got our friend Kevin. He's going to jump in here, maybe manage the chat for us. I mean, Kevin does what you guys do, so he might have a question to jump in and add. I'm gonna introduce you guys in just a second. I'm gonna have you introduce yourself. Actually, I want to real quick. I want to Fred. You've heard my story, but my parents got divorced when I was 8 years old, and my family owned a home until that point. And then from the time I was 8 until I was 17, we moved all over the place. Right, I was raised by a single mom, and we lived in, I don't know, 6 or 7 different houses. I went to 5 different schools. And when my junior year in high school, my mom bought a house in a little town called Blaine, Washington. It's up on the border right north of Bellingham, where Ben Kinney and our Brivity operations based out of. And it was the first time, you guys, in 8 years that as a kid, I really felt like a wayward child. And it was the first time that I felt like my family had a home, had roots. And I never really knew like the meaning of it to me personally until many years later, as I was looking back, and Ben one time had challenged us, like, why do you come to work? I remember him, like, I remember sitting in his office and he was like, why do you come to work? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, he's like, you don't have, he's like, you don't have to do what you do. Like, why do you do it? And I was finally able, I think, emotionally to attach what we do here, right? And we deliver the dream of home ownership. But I was never really to really give it an emotional base until he asked me that question, right? It was because it had grounded me and my family. And I felt like, man, what we do, Jay, what you guys do, providing the dream of home ownership, like, it matters, right? It matters to people. It matters to that wayward kid that spent 8 years in all the different schools and to finally have a home. So I think we all agree, like, home ownership is a value to our communities. So Fred, I'm going to start with you. Do me a favor, introduce yourself, and then maybe you could tell us, like, what's your why, Fred? Why do you do this? Why have you committed all your time and your effort and your energy and time away from your family to do what you do, which is help people buy and sell real estate?
It's a really good question. So, my name is Fred Said. I've been a licensed agent since March of 2004 in Southern California. I've been a full-time agent for the past 16 consecutive years, and I've been running a team for the past 9 consecutive years. And we cover San Diego, Orange County, LA County. We're in a larger team, do some good production here in SoCal, and I'm actively in production. I sell a couple houses a month myself. So I'm on the front line like everybody else on this call and anybody watching the recording in the future. I do it because I love it. I'm a third generation realtor. I've been doing it since I was 20 years old. I don't feel like I'm working when I show up every single day. I truly enjoy every aspect of this business. I enjoy the lives that we can change, not only what Bob said about clients and buyers and sellers, but the staff members and the agents that are partners with us and how we can help change their financial future by following our systems and models that we're going to talk about today. I just love real estate. I love owning them. I love buying them. I love selling them. I love training people. It's just something that's a part of who I've become over the past, 15 plus years. And I can't imagine myself doing anything else,
I
honestly.
love it. I love it. Jay White.
What is
First
up,
off,
man?
can we do, you have 2 Kobe's over your shoulder? Like, that's impressive.
Kobe versus Kobe,
That's
MJ, the iconic slam dunk championship.
Dude, that Kobe versus Kobe, that is something else. Do me a favor, tell us a little bit about Jay White, and then what's your why, bud? Why do you do this?
For sure, man. So my name's Jay White. We run Jay White Group, powered by Place, Keller Williams Realty in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we help people in North and South Carolina with home ownership, and also have a property management business and a couple of little investment companies. My brother and I are partners. It's funny, we're both second generation, but we got into real estate about a month after our dad did. So we tell people we're second generation real estate, but we've got, 18 years of experience. My dad has 18 years in 1 month. So
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yep. But
Why? Like, why? What gets you out of bed?
so I don't do well in corporate America, right? So I'm ADHD, like you and I've talked about that. We're both all over the place. Um, I had a job in finance in a cubicle for like 6 months and it didn't go so well. And I recognized like I can't do Groundhog Day. I can't do the same day over and over again. I really enjoy problem solving. Um, I have to I have to feel challenged with something. And so for me, getting up every day and having a challenge of building a bigger business with all these different personalities and behavioral styles and um personal stories of like, hey, what makes this person tick and that person tick, and helping this person succeed, and this is this person's goals, and all that really does make this interesting for me. And my daughter had a real serious health issue when she was turning 16, and this business gives me the ability to fund a really big life and have as much control over my schedule and the people that I spend time with as anything else will let me have.
I love it. I love it.
Well said.
Okay, let's. I mean, this is an interesting question because you go back, Fred, for you 18 years or 16 or however many, I didn't do the math there. Jay, 18 years, and the answer might be a little bit different, but you guys are helping new agents who are coming into the business, who join your team. So you have the perspective of what did you do, and you also have the perspective of watching people right now go do it. So maybe that element of the timing doesn't matter. Here's my question, and I'll start with you, Fred. Right now, today, you needed a deal. Right now, you're not going to find a deal today, right? You're like, if we wanted a deal today, we probably should have started 3 months ago, right? Because we find the client, and then the next month, maybe we're out looking at houses, and then the next month, maybe the contract gets written, and then the next month it maybe closes, or maybe it's 2 months later, and we finally get a paycheck. But if I needed a client today, Fred, where would you go find a client today? Like, what would be for an agent on this call today, the place where I could go right now today, and if I put in enough effort, I might actually walk out of there with the client, or I'd have the highest probability?
So over the next 30 days, I would do the following. I would do open houses, I would call friends and family, and I would start cold calling. And I would do all three simultaneously. Here's what I would do. I would find an open house in your market where it's either your office's listing, your team's listing, or somebody you might know. Ideally, if it's vacant, that would be great. And I would actually use that open house and do it at least 4 to 7 times in a week and turn the open house into an actual mobile office. While you're at that open house and hosting it every single day, 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week, you're also making phone calls while you're actually at the open house. So open houses are prime time in any major market that I've trained in right now or talked to agents. You can generate right now buyers, right now sellers, simultaneously talking to your friends, your family, talking about the rates dropping right now, generating referrals, and then obviously doing cold calls, whether that's expireds and FSBOs for some people, or my team and I do an absolute ton of circle prospecting around that open house, generating sellers and buyers right now. I would do all three of those. They're cost effective. They're sweat equity, not check equity. So it won't cost you that much. And you can find right now people and get a deal under contract or a listing in the next few weeks.
Can you so you're sitting at that open house. What do you use, like a Mojo or something like that to go do that prospecting out there around the
Yeah,
neighborhood?
great question. So there's two ways, right? We call in our team, and Jane have similar metrics, right? We're in the same organization. So it's about lead follow-up within our Brivity system. So making Brivity dials, lead follow-up, old leads, friends and family. So we're using Brivity for that, right? Using our Brivity dial or Brivity system. And then any third-party data that we need right now, we're using currently Mojo that has the data and the dialer to make our cold calls around those areas.
What
So, yeah.
can you what somebody walks into your open house, what do you say to them?
Oh, hi, what's your name?
Bob.
Hi, Bob. My name is Fred. Said people come to my open houses for one of two reasons. Number one, they're a buyer out shopping for homes, or number two, they're a homeowner thinking about selling their property. Which one are you?
So you're asking me to identify myself immediately, Mr.
Yeah.
Person who just walked into my open house. Are
And
you a buyer or you a
normally,
seller?
Pick a lane.
normally I exactly pick a lane. I ask if they're a seller first, then a buyer. I prefer to see if they're a seller, but I want to know who I'm dealing with. And my mind knows I'm going to go LP Mama buyer, or I'm going to go a seller-based script because they want to sell their home or get a home.
You're also not giving them the out that 95% of agents give them, which is to not pick a lane.
To pick the just browsing lane. I don't have any intentions being in here. I just stumbled across this place on accident.
I'm not interested. I just like going into vacant houses on the weekend by myself. Come on.
Yeah, the only way they're walking out of that house without me getting their contact information or my agents is if they're 100% committed to an agent. Because we ask them that question. We don't ask them if they're working with anyone like everybody else does. We ask them if they're 100% committed to an agent. And if they answer back in nanoseconds with absolute confidence, yes, then we know they're committed and we're not going to try to go an uphill battle for no reason.
You said something interesting in there. You said you would go grab that open house, and you said hopefully a vacant one. And now I realize why you said that, because you said you go there 4 to 7 times this week. Talk about that mindset for a second, because most agents would be like, oh, I did my open house on Saturday, and one person showed up and they had an agent already, and these open houses stink.
Well, that's because most agents do an open house just to check the box. You said, hey, if your life depended on you finding a lead this week, what would you do?
Right.
Like, there's a different intentionality with the way Fred did it. Like, I'm actually, if my back's against the wall and I need a deal, I just created a mobile office where it gives somebody the chance to walk into my mobile office while I'm prospecting.
Yep. Storefront.
Yep.
4 to 7 times.
Every day, right? What's wrong with that?
Bro, that's from your mom, Bob.
Yeah.
I was just going to say,
by the way,
bro.
Your mom wrote the playbook on that, right?
Yeah.
Some of you guys that are on the call who maybe don't know the story. So my mom is an agent. She's a partner with these guys at Place. She did, I think it was 26. She did 26 open houses in the month of December in 2016. And she was a new agent, and she had a big why, right? So she had a reason to get out of bed 26 times in December, by the way, in Washington State, where it's rainy and gray and gross. And you might get 1 or 2 people come to an open house on a Wednesday. And yeah, she did 26 that month. And her story is that in January and February, I think 15 of those individuals would turn into contracts for her in those preceding couple of months. And she was hosting 2 a day in some cases. She was doing them at the same property day after day after day, and then move in. And yeah.
I mean, the reality is when you look at almost any MLS, who sells the most houses? It's new construction. Well, what do? They put people in houses every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like that's their number one lead generation lever, is they allow people to come into a house and have a sales representative ready to talk to them.
Fred, you mentioned canceled expired. Like in my head, I'm like, all right, I got, like, who's going to walk into an open house? Definitely like a buyer, like somebody walking into an open house. They might be a looky-loo, but more often than not, there's somebody way deep in the funnel, right? Like they've probably been an internet lead in somebody else's world, Jay. They're now out driving around. Like they're actually walking in houses. If they don't have an agent they're 100% committed to, like that's a great prospect. But canceled expireds, to me, is another place where it's like they were just trying to list their house for sale and it didn't happen. Jay, do you guys work canceled expireds in your business?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and Fred said, it's funny because I think I would have a very similar business plan to what Fred has. If you said, hey, your back's against the wall, you got to get a contract this week, I would go I would spend the first hour or 2 hours today finding a house that I can camp out in this week, put it on MLS, shoot a video saying, hey, I'm hosting this house open every day this week, all day. Right. And then I would literally sit in that house and make it my mobile office. And I would start calling expireds first, because those are people.
What's an expired script sound like?
Hey, hey, Bob, are you the owner of 123 Main Street?
Yeah, I am, man. And if you're calling me about man, I've had 100 agents call already today.
Hey, listen, I totally understand. Is the house still available for sale?
Well, it's not actively on the market, but man, if I could get it sold, I'd love to.
Okay, so you're interested in selling the property?
still.
Awesome. When can you and I get together?
So I mean,
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
that was I gave it to you too easy there. I should have been more of a jerk.
I don't care. I'm just going to keep asking for it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I don't think what you say is as important as getting past the nose.
Dig in on that a little bit for me. What do you mean? Like, you could just say anything, and as long as
listen, man, you just told me you're interested in selling the house. When can we get together?
I don't know, man. It didn't seem like it listed at the price that we wanted to, and it didn't sell at that price. That's the price we're looking to get for it.
Awesome. If I could get you that price, would you be interested?
Yeah.
Awesome. When can we get together?
He's not, see, it's so smooth what he's saying. It's not overthinking it. He's just going question, answer, close, close, close. It's not.
What are you closing for? Are you always closing for an appointment when you're
Yeah.
in scenarios like this?
Dude, my dad had a statement to us forever, right? He grew up in the car business. And so Mark and I were always taught the phone is for two things: asking questions and giving directions, setting appointments and giving directions.
Heck yeah.
The only thing I want to do on the phone is get face to face with you.
I already love your dad.
All right. So there's a few scripts for you guys. There's what we do if we need a deal today, right? I love that 4 to 7 times. I think that's my favorite thing I heard out of there, because a lot of people would say, oh, you go do an open house. My friend's like, no, you go do an open house today, and then you do another one tomorrow, the day after. Maybe you do 2 on Wednesday,
all
one
day,
in the morning, one in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's why we need a vacant spot.
That's why.
A vacant spot, and preferably on a busy road.
Okay.
Because I'm going to put a sign out front with balloons, and like I want the chance that somebody's going to walk into that.
We're you guys have ushered a lot of people into the business, right? Jay, Fred, you got any idea, Fred, like over the 8 years of the team, how many agents that you've partnered with, and how many new ones? I'm assuming it's a couple dozen brand new agents who
I would say 50 plus pre-place and post-place, 50 plus new, and probably, I don't know, between 15 and 18 experienced. And now we're starting to bring on small teams, which is kind of interesting for us and a new opportunity. And I feel like I've in the past 8-9 years, locally and nationally, I've trained about 17,000 people on Zooms and on stage, and a lot of them were new. A lot of them are new. And we get asked this question, Jay and I, all the time. What do I got to do to make money? What do I got to sell homes? And the challenge is, Bob, is that we can give them a really rock solid 6-figure net income plan over the next 6 or 12 months. Challenges over 80 to 90% aren't willing to do what it takes to actually execute that plan. And I call it a competing commitment. Like, they'll come out of their mouth and say, I want to do these things. That's their commitment. But they're competing against the commitment because they're not actually walking the walk. They're willing to get more complacent and get more comfortable for whatever psychological reason. So for us, when you ask these questions, it's so easy for us because we've overcome that competing commitment or that complacency, and we understand ambition, and we understand what this business can do for us and what it can do for our families, and the fact that we just can't stop and we have to push forward every single day. So anybody watching this or the recording, it's a matter of, you have a plan. It's not rocket science what it takes to sell real estate on a consistent level and earn the income that you want. It's a matter of whether you're willing to do it, and if your why is big enough and you're willing to have perseverance and break through those times when you don't want to move forward. That's the challenge, right?
So and maybe I heard the answer in there, and Jay, I'm interested in your perspective here. Like, a massive number of real estate agents fail in their first 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, you look somewhere for a stat, it's 80%, like it's a lot, right? And we see this, and we don't want to act like yes, both of your businesses have the models for somebody to come in and be successful, but many people come in and, like, to Fred's point, they don't put the work in, or they're not able to be consistent. But what is a common thread amongst somebody that comes through the organization that succeeds? Like, what do those people do? What attributes do they have that are maybe different than that, a person that comes in there like, man, these two people came in, they both said they wanted to do it. This person did it, and it just did not happen for this other person. Like, what are those common threads, or what are those differences?
To me, it's two things. To me, it's two things, right? Coachability and grit.
Mm.
right? Everybody wants to be the beast, but no one wants to do what the beast does to be the beast. Right. So like if I tell you, hey Bob, this is what it's going to take, and you say, I'm not willing to do that, then you're not coachable.
Yeah.
If I said, hey Bob, this is what it's going to take, and you say, cool, I can do that today, but I can't do that for 5 days in a row, then that's grit.
Mm.
Mm,
Love that.
great. 5 days in a row. Okay, so what does it take? Like, give me the what are you asking of an agent who joins your team? What are you asking them to do? Let's say daily, or I don't know. You can put it into weekly or monthly terms if that's how you guys think about it. You know, they need to make this many contacts a day or this many a month. But like, what is the ask of them?
For me right now, it's in front of me on my desk. It's either 150 lead follow-up calls in Brivity per week, which should equate to 40 conversations. So number one, minimum 40 contacts in Brivity alone, which is lead follow-up per week, Monday through Sunday. Number two, 350 outbound cold call dials per week. And number three, 2 open houses per week. Those are the 3 basic standards from an activity standpoint. Show up to our, 4 daily huddles per week, which we call power-ups, scripts, training, coaching, but at minimum, I can assess their activity just by looking at their data in Brivity and seeing if they're doing those 3 filters of an activity.
Jay, you have like a similar
It's pretty
model? Is it
similar.
slightly different?
Yeah.
Yes, it's pretty similar, man. You do that and you get access. You do that and you also get access to the team's business too.
Team leads, stuff in your pond. I'm assuming
Potentially referrals. Yeah.
Yep.
everybody has the pond that you guys are using. Yeah, referrals that call Jay White because they know your name because you guys in their team sell a lot of business in Charlotte. Sign calls that
Sign
come
calls.
from your listings, right? That's stuff that agents earn the access to when they're in doing the activities and the work that's being asked of them.
Yeah, I don't know how Jay ran his business before. We were friends before we partnered with Place years ago, but I know the one thing that we do well.
But now you're not friends anymore. Is that what
Oh,
you're saying? Or
we're homies.
Now,
We're homies now. But
I
the
kid.
one
what's up?
was but the one thing we do now is that I don't know about Jay, but I assume this about you. We don't want to give people fish. Jay and I want to teach people how to fish every day.
Yeah, we
What
both
we
come from that coaching and training background to
Yeah.
where like I would much rather show you how to do it so that we can do it together.
Yep.
Like you do some, I give you some versus Ben says this all the time, right? Like we're business partners with our agents. We're asking them not to bring the capital, but we're asking them to put the sweat equity in
Mhm.
while I supply the capital and
Yep.
the leverage, right? So if they're doing the activities, the sweat equity, and I'm spending the capital and providing the leverage, they should be able to do, 1 + 1 = 3 for them.
Where do people fall down here? Like what? Because the model's there, right? That they show up saying, I want to do this. And
Mhm.
maybe it's back to your answer of the competing priorities, Fred, or whatever you called that there. It's like, yeah, they say they want to do it, but literally the reason people fail is they just don't do it. And if that's the answer, why don't they do it?
So Mark and I have been arguing this for a little while, right? Because I think it's super simple. Either they don't know or they don't care. And I don't think that that's a black and white thing. I think that they can, um, on a spectrum of I don't know and I don't care. Maybe it's I'm not super confident. I don't feel like I know enough, so I don't feel comfortable doing it. Or hey, look, I know what I'm doing, but I don't care enough because I'm comfortable, or I don't care enough because I've got a backup plan. Like I think one of the things that happens with a lot of real estate agents that fail is because they haven't burned the boats.
Hmm.
Like they've got a backup plan.
Yeah, they got that job that they could go back to if they needed to, or
Whatever it is.
I was watching a recording of Ben last night. And he brought up the real estate success principles that he created years ago. And I believe, I don't know the sequential order, but I always remember him as the following: know what to say, have enough people to say it to, and say it enough times. I believe I said that correctly.
Say the right things,
Things,
right?
say it enough times, and have
times,
enough
how
people to
many
say
people
it
say
to.
it to, right? And so, and I think about it all the time. I'm like, man, what we do is so boring. Like when I coach my agents and my partners, or I coach a lot of outside agents in my market just as friends to help their production because it's been down the past year and a half because I don't have the infrastructure that we have, unfortunately. And I'm just like, listen, master the mundane. Like, just pick up the phone and make the calls and do it every single day. Do it consistently. Do it over time. If you can do that, which is not what you've been doing, that's why you have your business is down 60%. If you can do that consistently and over time, you're not going to be affected by any shift in the market because you'll have consistent leads, opportunities, listings, and buyers that you can serve.
I think that's why you and I both went immediately to open houses, because open houses, when they're done right, work in any market.
Any market.
And then we went to expireds, because to us, that's the lowest hanging fruit, because these people have raised their hand and said, I'm interested in selling my house. And they've shown that they would work with a real estate agent.
Right. And if you do enough calls, like my one thing that I'm known for, that at least I've done for a long time for the past 4 years, is circle prospecting. Right? Like, I have a brand new agent that's 3 months in the business, did a deal or two, partnered with us 90 days ago, get on the phones. Dude, she called a seller, and that seller said, oh, I'm not selling, but I want to buy a house and I've been saving. I have 750 in cash. Can you help me? Because my previous agent for 9 months can't get me a house. 3 weeks later, she's writing offers with that guy. We got an offer accepted last week for 750K on a circle prospecting lead.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways,
on our team, the
Makes sense?
second day an agent's with us, they do 1,000 dials, and they're 100% of those dials are circle prospecting dials. Right. So they pick an address and
I mean, this gets to grit, right, Jay? This is like your grit tester in the door, right?
It's a litmus test.
It is.
They come in saying, I'm going to do all the work. I'm willing to do the work. And you're like, okay, let's see how gritty you are.
Yeah. We're going to find out real fast.
Yeah.
So everybody does 1,000 dials. Everybody does circle prospecting for those 1,000 dials.
Yep.
And if you talk to almost anybody on our team, almost every one of them has a deal that came out of that first 1,000 dial day.
Heck yeah.
Almost everyone.
Love it. I got a guy right here, Bob, on the other side of my office. He hasn't even signed the contract yet. He said verbally yes a couple days ago, but he's doing his 1,000 dials today. So we do what Jay does. We just have them do the 1,000 dials before they actually partner with us. I just want to see if they, and I've had like 20% in the past 90 days actually quit and say, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. And we don't actually partner with them, which is fine. Right.
Take me through that a day then. Like, I'm an agent on your team. I heard you guys run similar models, so I don't care who takes this one. Maybe Fred, you take this one. So it's like, I heard you say power up. What time is that? What does it look like to take your team through a day? Like, and when do they leave and kind of go off into the world?
So here's how I run my schedule. So we're in 5 Keller Williams, so I'm spread, so I don't have one location. So we do a lot of virtual. We have a virtual world, and if anything. So for us, Monday through Thursday, this is the following schedule: 8:30 to 9 a.m. is power up. Scripts, dialogues, coaching, training. 9 to 9:15, you have a role play partner that the VA assigns for you. You role play over the phone, the script of the day. 9:15 to 11:30, you're making phone calls, past clients, prospecting, whatever it is. 11:30 to 12, there's some sort of huddle or group coaching or lender update happening Monday through Thursday. 12 o'clock and on, kids, lunch, more calls, appointments, whatever you want. Fridays, as a flex day, we have a call with Chris Suarez, our partner, our founder, co-founder at Place, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then it's flex. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, open house, money making. So what I realized with agents, because they're independent contractors, I can't give them an actual 8 to 5 employee 40-hour schedule. If I can get the first half of their week, Monday through Thursday, and the first half of their day, 8:30 to 12, dialed in and structured, the rest of their squirrel brain, like mine, can get in a more effective and more, they get more output, if that makes sense. So
you're asking them essentially to commit to this. It's about 3 hours of a block in there, maybe 3.5 hours of a block every day. And in lieu, the craziest thing about real estate to me, you guys,
dude, if you'll give me 15 to 18 hours of really intentional time a week, I don't care what you do with the rest of it, because you're going to be so busy, it'll control you. I don't have to.
Well, exactly.
And the crazy part is, Jay, is some people would actually not commit those 18 hours and they'd go get a job for 40. That's not going to pay them anywhere near the capacity they have to earn in this.
It's funny too, because I came from the productivity coaching world, right? So I coached about 80 agents in a KW office before I got my team cranked up and started growing. I had more people come to me and go, hey, I'm thinking about getting a side job. And my conversation with them, and Chris Suarez actually walked me through this one time. He goes, okay, so cool. So how many hours are you going to work at that job? I don't know, 10, 15, maybe 20. Awesome. What are they going to pay you? Let's just say 15, let's just say $20 an hour, right? You're not going to, maybe you could get that today. You couldn't get that back in the day, but let's just say it's 20 hours. Like, okay, so that's $400 a week. That's $1,600 a month, right? Pre-tax. If you gave me 20 hours a week of focused lead generation time, I could 10x that. But you're just not willing to do it.
Or I'll hire you at $20 an hour and I'll have you make calls for me, and then I'll go on the appointments and I'll make the money.
Yeah, but the what they're opting out of is that. Like they would go on the appointments in a lot of cases.
Yeah, good point. Isn't that crazy?
What is, but where, like, I feel like we need a magic purple pill to just give them, but we don't have one. Like why does one person do it and one person doesn't? It's grit, Jay. It's confidence. It's
it's either because on this one side you have don't know or don't care, and on this other side you have coachability and grit.
I think it's a step deeper than that at some people. I know I was in my life, and it's worthiness. It's worthiness. We all have had some baggage. My dad left when I was young. I felt worthless, right? So making more money in my life and breaking the financial thermostat of making no more than 50 grand ever, sometimes we psychologically hit that. We self-sabotage. So that could be part of it, at least in my studies with people and coaching people, I've seen that. And if they're willing to break through that financial thermostat and the limiting beliefs about their self-worth, man, they can live a great life, and some just don't, unfortunately. So
what do you guys, Dawn, she set me up with the big softball right there. What do you guys, so you guys both use Brivity. That's, people got here today because this was a Brivity kind of sponsored deal. Tell me some of the tools that you guys are using inside of Brivity that you love.
I mean, for us, it's working through the daily success habits, right? Like literally it's, here's the 10 things that if you do them every day. So checking your new leads first thing, checking your message center, working through your pipeline and saying, who have I touched, working through these smart filters that we've set up, saying, hey, who have I not talked to in 30 days that I have contact information for? Who's checked their market reports? Who's checked their listing alerts? That I need to be, like, you talk about that a lot. Like, these are behavioral things where you go, well, that's new.
Yeah.
They haven't looked at a market report in 8 months, and then all of a sudden they've looked at one every week for 3 weeks. That's new. That's somebody I need to be calling, right? So,
hey,
like,
we have that. You shared a story not that long ago. You guys had a guy on there that just kind of popped up out of nowhere. Boom, he hit that market report.
He called me.
Yeah.
So he called my cell phone. I didn't know who it was, and I happened to pick up. It was on a weekend, and he said, hey, I'd like you to come list my house. And I was like, awesome. Right? Like those are the great calls to get. I was like, by the way, if you don't mind me asking, how'd you hear about us? He goes, oh, I get your mailer. And I'm in the back of my mind, I'm going, we don't send mailers. So I'm like, sounds great. Thanks so much. Appreciate the call. I'll see you, Monday at whatever time. And then as soon as I got back to my computer, I was like, hey, what's this phone number? Who is this? We had circle prospected him 18 months before that, something like that. And we had tried 22 times in 6 months to get him back on the phone without success.
Wow.
Never answered. Agent put him back in the pond. Agent left the team. Right. So then as soon as that happened, and by the way, when that happens, when we put him in the pond, he goes on a market report with my name on it.
Display agent. Yeah.
Right. So that's happening. And now he's getting my name, my face, my phone number in front of him every 2 weeks. And then the funny part is he never opened them. And then all of a sudden he did. And nobody recognized that. Nobody was going through our pond using those filters and recognized that. So he literally had to call me. So there's a cool success story about how a Brivity tool got us a $15,000, $20,000 commission. But there's also a story going, okay, we should have recognized that opportunity prior to him calling.
Yeah. I was telling somebody this earlier this afternoon. Josiah was talking to me yesterday about a new feature. We're calling it lead DNA or Brivity DNA or something like that. But it's going to start to notify you every time somebody in your database that we have an address for lists their house, and it doesn't list with you, Jay. And like we don't want that to happen, right? But the reality is most teams in their database are extracting somewhere between 5 and about on the very top ends, like 30% of the business that lives in there. Like 60 to 95% of the business in most agents' databases goes to some other agent.
Can you
right?
imagine what our team's going to look like when we're able to get our database dialed in? I mean, we had a meeting this week where you said, "Hey, you've got as much potential here that's being untapped," right? Like, imagine what it looks like when we actually can really dial it in.
Yeah,
Fred,
exactly.
what's your what you got a tool or two in Brivity? So Jay's is market reports. I know he loves those. And then that daily routine, which is kind of a function of a lot of the tools of Brivity, right? It's say we got new leads coming in. It's we got website visitors because we've got listing alerts driving to those people. And so there's literally people every day in Jay and Fred's world on their website looking at properties, and we could call them and we know exactly what property they were looking at. We could talk to them about that property. Fred, what's a tool or
I
two
think
that you
Fred's favorite is our new girl Gabby.
Yeah,
yeah?
that's yeah, there's something that's rolling out pretty soon. I won't get too much into it,
Well, here
talk about it,
I'll
but
get it. So if you're a Brivity, so we've been testing at Brivity with some of our some of Ben's place partners, you two included, a new artificial intelligence bot that talks to people via text message. And she's really smart. She's like smarter than all three of us combined. She
combined.
knows your MLS details. She can talk
Yeah.
about properties. She's trained on the LP Mama script. She's trying to work people down. She's figuring out, what location are they interested in, what price, what's their motivation. Have you talked to a mortgage person, and ultimately trying to drive them to the verge of an appointment. Fred, have you digging Gabby right now?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I would marry Gabby if I could right now. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm a huge fan, right? Like having two wives. Okay, definitely for Gabby, I would. No, I'm kidding. No, it's unbelievable. I mean, the level at which we've been beta testing it with Jay, us, and a bunch of others, right? It's working unbelievably well. So we love that tool, learning how to use Gabby and AI at the right time. But Gabby is just one tool. At the end of the day, the reason Gabby is working is because Jay and I and others, we have an organized database, or at least we're always pursuing an organized database and then coaching our partners to run an organized database. So for me, I love everything about Brivity, but for me, I got to understand number one, what are the correct statuses on how I use new unqualified hot watch nurture? Do I have the exact phone number, addresses? Are the intents correct? Am I taking notes? Am I using the system to its full capability? Whether I have 50 people or I have 50,000 people in my database, right? But the key thing that I like the best that I'm always harping on my team is one status and one filter if everybody wants to jot this down. News, unqualifieds, hot watches, and nurtures. I call those the active statuses, people that want to transact, that
It's your
have a phone
pipeline.
number, exactly, right? And that have not been called in 90 days, not communicated with, have not been called. Right. So those are ones that we're always looking at literally every day with our team and saying, oh, you got to call those 20 people. You got to call these 40 people. Oh, you texted them. Great. They don't have a to do. They need more. So we're always making sure that that's getting touched so that we don't have a lead left behind, or we don't have a situation where Jay had a great story, a badass story about that person that called. But unfortunately, all homeowners that get market reports won't call you. They'll list with somebody else if you don't communicate with them. Right. So we have to be able to reach them and get them in time. So for us, it's the entire system. Gabby's awesome. Market reports are fantastic. It's the one all beginning to end ecosystem of a real estate CRM that runs my entire business. Literally. All I ever use is I use Gmail on top of that. And for the time being, which we're going to get rid of it soon, we're using Mojo because Brivity soon is going to do what Mojo does for us with calling and data and stuff that we're, Ben and Bob are working on.
Yeah,
So
we got
Bob, I
Brivity's
think
got a big data project coming. You guys are going to have canceled expireds in Brivity by the end of Q1.
Bob, I think
Fred
the
or
one
Jay?
other thing, the one other thing that we haven't talked about, reverse prospecting, like actually sending listings out to people in our pipeline, even though they're getting market reports and listing alerts. So even though they might see that property, don't ever underestimate sending them a property and go, hey, I didn't know if you saw this one, and here's why. Right.
I've been telling this story. My wife and I bought an investment property recently, and we've been looking for 3 years. Right. This is not unlike a lot of people you guys have in your databases right now. They were thinking about buying. All of a sudden, interest rates went up. They're coming down. They're thinking about it. And I was set up on. I had an alert coming from Redfin. I had 2 agents here in Washington. My mom was one of them, and she was sending me stuff in the south ends of Washington, and then Tamara was sending me stuff on the north end. And look, and then every day I was going on, the app and looking, and I had no shortage of access to what was out there. The house I actually bought, my mom sent me Like it was in a listing alert in my email. I didn't see it, right? It was through the holidays last year, busy holiday time. And she sent me an email and then she texted me. She was like, "Hey, I just want to make sure you saw this one. It hit yesterday, and I know it went out on that listing alert I sent you, but did you see it?" And this was in a text. I didn't even see the email, by the way. She sent me the one property in an email, but I didn't see it. But her text message, I was like, "Oh, let me go look. Let me go pull my email up and look at that one property she sent me that, by the way, had been in the listing alert the day before, but I was busy. It was up through the holidays. I didn't see it." Her calling that out, but that thing went fast too. We had to get out there the next day, right? It was a great price property, but it was a function of her kind of going above and beyond just the automation that, because sometimes we can get lulled into the automation, Jay. Right?
Ben talks about that, right? Like the reality is that we keep trying to automate ourselves out of business when the reality is automation ought to be, we ought to accentuate the automation with personal touches. Right.
Yeah.
So like Tony Figueroa and Veronica actually shared something with our team a couple of weeks ago that I thought was really brilliant. In the world where they're getting a lot of automation, actually pulling up the Brivity Go app on your phone, shooting a video of me saying, hey Bob, this is Jay White. I just wanted you to know that I'm a real person. I saw that you were looking at 123 Main Street on our website, and I just wanted you to know that I'm here to help in any way. And texting that to them, and all of a sudden the conversion rate goes up.
Yeah. Look, we're
super easy little hack.
I think all of us, or a lot of us, understand that a lot of the emails we receive, and these days more and more the text messages we receive there's some element of automation there. They're dripping on us somehow. But like that video that lands on their phone where you're like, "Hey Bob, it's Jay. It's 10 o'clock here in Charlotte. It's just started snowing," or whatever, right? Like that. All of a sudden, I'm like, "Okay, wait a minute. This guy just did that for me." I think that's a big
that's
difference.
something that AI can't do, at least right now. Right. Yeah. So they know, number one, they'd recognize that I spent the time to do it.
Real quick.
I know that we're getting there.
Hey man, Jay, I'm telling you, I could make your voice. I could make right now something with Jay White's voice saying, "I did it. I stabbed that Fred said guy and finally heard enough out of him. I put a knife right into him." Like it's crazy where it's going, but yeah, we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
I think we have to remember, in a world of non-personalization, that if you can do a little bit of personal touch, that it goes a long way today.
Absolutely. Fred, while Jade said the reverse prospecting, I love that. I'm going to show the feature really quick. This is your new listing. I think you guys listed this property here in January at some point. It's brand new listing. And what Fred gets the chance to do then is come in here and just pull his listing up. And then he can see anybody here that's been on his website looking at properties similar to the property that Fred just listed. And I know what Fred's team's going to do is they're going to get in here and make phone calls, and they could even come in here and Fred could just be like, "You know what? I'm just going to call all 50 of these folks, and I'm going to call them and say, hey, in the past, you've been looking at houses on our website, and we just listed one similar to houses that you've been looking at." These tools, can we talk about the dialer for just a second? Fred, I was looking at your people, and you guys have thousands of dials into your database every month, but almost all of your folks are using the dialer functionality. Can you just talk about kind of the mentality of a dialer versus, like, let's say I made 50 calls, like right now, I'm going to light these 50 people up and I just hit call, versus like taking my phone out and calling each one of them. Like, just talk through the mindset there of using the dialers, since your team does it at a high level.
Yeah. The reason it worked well to begin with and the implementation and adoption was good is because we have a transparent, results-oriented culture, meaning that I'm always in our meetings or group coachings, I'm sharing what people called or didn't call. Everybody can see everybody's results. We're not hiding it from anybody. So there's a level of accountability just by them knowing Fred's going to share everything. So with that said, when we start sharing it and I'm like, "Oh, you only had 15 dials in Brivity this week? That's weak." I'm calling John out, for example. He's like, "No, I did 65. I'm like, "What do you mean?" "Oh, I dialed on my phone. I forgot to report." I'm like, "Well, good for you, but I'm only counting the 15. So why don't you just use the dialer?" Because when you dial, it automatically reports the call for you. You don't have to do anything. Once you disperse it, it's done. So as they start getting more adoption for the dialer and realizing, hey, your Brivity number is powerful. It's on your business cards. It's on your signs. Your consumer should save it as your office number. You're texting from it, et cetera, et cetera. Then things just got easier. So everybody typically uses the dialer. I still have I even use people for my cell phone, and then I manually have to log if I'm driving, if they're calling myself for some reason. But putting ourselves in a position to be able to use a dialer makes things so much easier. It tracks automatically. I call from the Brivity number, and we just get more dials in automatically because the amount of people it can call and how quickly it can happen rather than hand dialing everybody.
Here's why Jay and I would use a dialer, and because we have ADD, and we're just like squirrel. Oh, look, hey, well, who's walking by my office right now?
It would take me 20 hours to call 100 people.
And one of the reasons is because we just are constantly looking around our environment, trying to find something else, maybe more interesting than the thing we're doing right now. But the other thing is this guy right here, our cell phones, they are designed by humans way smarter than us, with a sole purpose of distracting us from whatever the heck we wanted to actually be using this thing for, to start playing games or go on Facebook or look on my Instagram. Or I've been buying baseball cards recently, Jay. So I'm constantly on eBay looking at like a box of unopened 86 Fleer baseball cards that I can buy or whatever.
You get an email from Goat and it's over.
Yeah. I missed the pair of shoes I was trying to get on Nike. But like there's a million things here to distract us away. And I feel like, man, when I come in and I just light this dialer up and I hit call right here and I hit start, and then I put my phone down over to the side, and then I'm focused on my activity for today, Fred, which in Fred's world's to go out this week. We're going to talk to 40 people in the business that we've been following up with. And that dialer's going to make it so much more efficient and effective to do it. Because Jay and I wouldn't have even done it, Jay. Like we would have just been like,
we would have had great intentions.
Yeah.
And then we get distracted with something different. Yeah.
These systems and like I'm a firm believer that most of the people in this room with us today, most of the agents on our teams, without any tools, they're going to do 8 deals. Like that's going to be their cap, Jay, because the average agent with 10 years of experience is doing 8 deals right now. And so if I'm trying to manage a business,
I saw a stat from MLS in 2023, 50% of the agents on the NAR roll did 1 deal.
I did too. That's crazy, isn't it?
That's scary.
That's
when you think about it.
It used to be 3.
Right.
This was the hardest. 2023 was
yeah.
probably the hardest year I've seen in 21, 22 years of doing this, you guys. It was
so when you talk, well, when you talk about tech adoption, when you talk about using the tools and the systems, like recognize this, the only difference between being on our team or being on Fred's team or being on any team and high performing team, the only difference is the tools that we use and the systems that we follow. And if you don't use our systems and tools, then you are just being an individual agent on the team.
Which you guys have, right? We're gonna act like you guys have a magic pill that every person that's ever interacted with you all of a sudden holds their own promises and does everything and has grit and has that self-confidence somewhere. But the tools are there for them to lean into and be able to go and do the work. And give me like wrap me up here, you guys. Fred, here's what I want from you, man. Tell me on the way out the door, what is the one thing that if I do that thing, I can build a big business. I could do 30 deals this year. I could look back in 5 years and have built a team that had this doing 300 or 400 deals like you guys are going to do this year.
Be prospecting based, not marketing based. Don't pay for leads and don't have leads come to you and think you can convert them. Be in a position where you can go hunt for deals. Number 1, do open houses. Number 2, call your friends and family consistently, at least once a month. Provide value. Ask for referrals. And number 3, do some sort of additional lead gen lever. We call it circle prospecting, cold calling, outbound calling. If you can do that consistently, like Jay said, at least 15, 18 hours a week, not even half the week, you do it over 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 12, 14, 15 weeks, the results will naturally start coming in and you'll do consistent business. Then over time, as you grow your database, you'll get to 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 deals, build a team if you want, showing assistance, whatever. And at that point, you're never going to look back. I mean, at that
Jay,
point, you're just depositing checks.
give me, so he gave us tactic. He was just like tactic, do open houses, give me the mindset. Close us here with what's the mindset I need to have in order to go out and turn my 5, 8, 12 deals I did last year into 30 this year. What's that mindset?
So going from 5 to 8 to 30,
Sure.
right, is probably so the reality is if you did 5 to 8 deals, you probably were doing some of the right things some of the time. The difference between going from 5 to 8 to 30 is doing the right things all the time.
The roll, you know what? Like when you're saying that in my head, I'm just thinking roller coaster real estate. Most of the 5 to 8 to 12 deal, they do a bunch of work. They do the right things for a week or 2 or 3 or even a whole month. They get a little bit of business out of it. They stop doing the right things because they go manage that business. They give themselves a break. Some of them, Jay, in our world have never seen a paycheck as big as the first paycheck they've ever gotten. So they take a month off, right? But
I'll tell you the other thing
roller coaster of real estate can be smoothed out by doing the right things.
I'll tell you the other thing that has shown up in the last 12 to 18 months is the compound effect is a real thing, right? And it works both ways. And as the market got harder, I saw more agents pull away and pull away and pull away.
Making it harder and harder and harder.
Making it harder and harder and harder than it is. So, the only way to fix that is to get back in the saddle and do it every day. Because okay, for example, what works better? Open houses, circle prospecting, expired, door knocking, internet leads, like all of them, if you'll do them every day. You can build massive businesses in any of those.
I tell a story of a lady Ben and I met one time that came up to us and told us that she built her entire business by going golfing every day, but she'd go as a single and she'd get put in with 3 other golfers. And so every single day she was having conversations with 3 homeowners. Cause if you're out golfing, you probably own a house
or
right?
2.
Yeah. Or 2 or 5. Yeah. And so she built a big business. She's like, I do like 60 or 70 deals a year. And I live in the country club now of the place that I started golfing at 25 years ago, but every consistency, I think, is the mindset that can transform us here in real estate.
That's the kind of business I want to build. I'm not gonna lie.
Man, I probably
golfing
spent
for it. Jeez,
6 months after I met that lady, just reconsidering every life choice I'd ever made, Fred. Every single one. All right, good. Listen, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time. You guys run massive businesses. You're in charge of helping deliver the promises to our agents, out there to your buyers and sellers. For you guys to take an hour of your time, it means the world to me. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Thanks for having us, Bob.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you joined us, you're not a Brivity client, do yourself a favor. Go text platform to 59559. If you guys pulled your cell phones out right now, you text the word platform to 59559. You guys can take a look at the tools that Jay and his team and his agents, or Fred and his team and his agents use to run their real estate business. Savannah, she's even better than me. Look at that. She's got a link in there for you guys to click on if you wanted to as well. Guys, I'll see you soon. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.